exhibition because it's a very special relationship that I'm sure we'll hear a bit more about. But for those of you who haven't seen the show, please spend time after the discussion, and it will run through November 4th, so you can always come back, take a closer look. But for us, this is a really special opportunity to have Manjari here and in the gallery with this brand new work, which has taken several years in the making. And, you know, like a lot of the work that we do at Assembly, it's very interdisciplinary. We've got brand new video works that she made. We also had the site-specific installation last night at Le Colombe d'Or, which we'll be sharing with everyone who wasn't able to attend, but it was a pretty remarkable experience. So thank you all again for being here. I'll briefly introduce you, and then you can take it from here, and we'll have a brief Q&A at the end. So Manjari Sharma is an LA-based artist who was born and raised in Mumbai, India, who makes art that addresses issues of memory, identity, multiculturalism, and personal mythology. She's widely celebrated and exhibited internationally, has won numerous awards, and is in the collections of major museums, including the Met in New York, the MFAH here in Houston, the Birmingham Museum of Art, which has a solo exhibition touring around the country right now, which will open in Phoenix in December, and has other places coming up, so stay tuned. As well as the Carlos Museum at Emory University, among several others. And Bridget Bray, who she's in dialogue with, is an independent curator and arts advisor based in Houston. Many of you may know her as the former Nancy C. Allen curator and director of exhibitions at the Asia Society, Texas, where she was there from 2014 to 2022. And she organized many exhibitions, including exhibitions with Manjari Sharma. Her creation of the annual residency program at Asia Society in the spring of 2020, a very brave time to create a new program, continues to support Houston-based BIPOC artists through re-envisioned use of the galleries and related programming. Prior to coming to Houston, she led the curatorial department at the University of Southern California's Pacific Asia Museum in Pasadena. And during her 10 years of service there, she curated major exhibitions of both historical and contemporary arts of Asia and the Pacific Islands. She's lived and worked in Asia, including India, China, and Nepal, and was educated at Georgetown University and the University of Washington, Seattle. So thank you for being here, and thank you, Manjari, for being here.
Thank you. Big thank you to all of you for coming out and joining us, and of course to the entire Assembly team for taking such good care of Manjari and her work and connecting that work with all of you. I'd also like to say a special welcome to, although he's leaving, Dora and Sanjay Singh, who I get the award for probably coming from the furthest distance to be a part of today. So nice to have you here. Welcome to Houston. What do you want to talk about first? We can talk for hours and hours.
This is
so
a really good decaf latte.
Canary gets a shout out. Just to give you a shape of the day, we'll probably talk for 30 to 45 minutes, and then, as Ashley mentioned, we'll have Q&A. So whatever questions I don't cover for you, you'll have a chance to ask yourselves. For me, it's really exciting to look at this body of work. Because it's so unique, but it makes sense in the larger context of everything that you're doing. I think that the figure and the pool has been catnip for artists for a really long time, right? John Everett Millay, Hockney, Leandro Ehrlich, I mean, all the way up to today. Can you talk a little bit about what attracts you to this subject matter?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I was thinking of the word tapestry this morning a lot, you know, and of course the word ritual that came up yesterday.
Right.
I don't know if when I started my work or my, you know, interest in the conversation between photography and the inner landscape of the human mind that I was interested in, you know, I was going to be interested in a pool one day, you know. But that relationship between the interior and the exterior has, you know, been of interest to me for a very long time, and it feels like it just makes sense that it would end up here.
Right.
But I think anything that like organically develops feels that way, is meant to feel that way, you know. So I don't know if I had, you know, if someone asked me if I'd be working in a pool 10 years ago, I wouldn't have known that.
No.
But I do know that my relationship with photographing people in water itself, and what it elicits in me, or what it elicits in someone else when they look at it, was of interest to me. And you know, growing up in India, there are definitely these deep-seated concepts of the elements,
Right.
and how that the circularity of that guides your life. And without a doubt, back to the word ritual, water was a part of every ritual that I experienced growing up. To take it from that to it becoming the center stage for a lot of my work happened in a way where I couldn't like necessarily pinpoint how.
Right.
But what I do know that it's a sacred space for me. I feel like there's of course, then you look at it across different cultures, and you've got the idea of baptism, and not that I'm a religious person, but that cleansing, you know, of course we all feel it in as simple as a shower, you know. Right. But what I like is, honestly, I like the access to being able to stare at a subject uninhibitedly, with them busy doing their thing, with me busy doing my thing, and us being connected through this moment. Right. So I don't know if that directly answers your question, but the pool does become a space that allows me to do that one more time again, now as a, you know, with a different name, a different series, but really in that larger context of the practice, it gives me that canvas.
Right. In terms of scale and sort of scope for Shower Series, which Manjari's website is fantastic, so if you haven't already had a chance, please spend a lot of time with the work there. But Shower Series was very almost private.
Yeah.
It's just you and the subject of the portrait.
Yeah.
This sort of has an opening of scale. It's kind of operating in a different physical space.
Yeah.
There are obviously more people involved.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how the process is different between Shower Series and Surface Tension?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, Shower Series, it felt like I was being let into this private moment, and, you know, as if I was being allowed in, you know, even though it was a construct made by me, but it still felt like this person is giving me the permission to come to into something very private.
Right.
And, you know, the pool is a public space in some ways. And, you know, it's like it's okay suddenly to see each other publicly bathing, you know. It's really just like a very giant tank in which everybody is immersing themselves. It's the performance. It's a public performance of people going in and out. They have their own ways of approaching it. And so it already feels like it's a less private space, you know, so to speak. So the prints were also smaller for that reason, because it felt like it was a window into someone's moment. But in the pool, it becomes so much about the rhythm and the body language, and the texture is a really big part of it. I mean, the texture was a part of it in the Shower Series. For me, it's like something that I'm visually attracted to, but definitely in the pool, I feel like it became even more of and that's why the work is called Surface Tension, because I just love what happens to the top layer of that surface. And, you know, of course, it's a scientific term, so the meaning of it is also very interesting to me. But yeah, and then I feel like the scale lends itself to really putting on display that surface that you might have missed. Because again, the showers were long and deeply meaningful conversations, and the pool is kind of like, I can't have a conversation with this person now, right? It's almost like it's cut off. They're in their world, I'm in mine, you know. And if I don't capture something quickly, it's gone. And whatever I captured, I'll probably never capture again, because you can never make water do something for you 2 times in a row, you know. So then it feels like if it's never going to happen again, then I want to see it really big and I want to make it last. And so the scale allows me to just stretch that out. And, scale has been important to me. I feel like it has been, a part of other series to make something and to feel shrunk in front of something that's so powerful. And I feel like seeing it at this scale is really now pushing me to make the scale go further. I would like bigger walls to test that out in, but I can't seem to scale my house or my studio. My desire and my studio don't seem to keep up, but
I sense a residency in your future with very large walls. Yeah.
Universe, please listen to Bridget Bray.
Can you talk about the choices for this particular installation in terms of printing and then, as Ashlyn referenced, the new video approach?
Yeah. So, the paper choice was very intentional.
Yeah.
I do, and in this space, especially to not have anything between you and the artwork, I think extends that as well, because your own eye is not distracting you from the work. You're not looking at a reflection of yourself, although that always becomes a very interesting thing too, especially in portraiture.
You think that, but for the curators in the audience, we're all like, bad gallery light reflections and glazing.
Well, it's great because it doesn't show you your whole face. You only see parts of it.
That's true.
And you're somehow merging with the person that you're looking in. So,
layers.
But here especially back to that conversation of texture, the paper does help me take that further. And I was actually talking about this yesterday. There's such a fluidity to water that I want things to feel like they're smudging or blurring. And this paper has a lot of tooth to it, and so just extends that. It's interesting that I'm going to be like, it's like a watercolor paper. It's literally in the name of the paper. So
right.
It's begging to be used for water,
Yeah.
And so I like, I've played with this paper before with a different series that I'd made in Brazil, on the beach. And it was early explorations, and I was like, I'm going to come back to this paper. Surf Ascension felt perfect for it.
And then what about the video? How did you approach the videos?
The videos were, it's nice to see them inside a space. I'm excited that Assembly decided to showcase it along with the still works, because they were created with intention to become the installation that happened last night. So they've actually, it's kind of been like a separation between the still work and the video work. The video work was made with intention to be pumped back into the pool.
Right.
And I think in the beginning, when I started to do the video work, it just felt like, here's Sky sitting in the audience as well, and there's Sky on the. I guess I do love the layers of repetition, and I find that very connected to my cultural space as well. And just the repetition of things, the repeating of a person in the water, making a still of them, making a video of them, putting that video back into that water, putting that person back into that video with the person swimming back with their projection. Right. I enjoy seeing those layers over and over again. And at the time, I was like, I have this thought, but I don't know how to execute it yet. So it was born in that residency that I had in California, in Santa Barbara. And once I saw what it looked like, I wanted to take it further. But I needed pools, expensive projectors, I needed, all the things that can't happen every time you snap a finger. So as it does in the case of a long-term project, actually time is really on your side, even though the distance just allows you to come back to it in different ways, and different pools change the conversation, and different projection spaces change the conversation. So every time I have a new site to have that installation in, there's new things learned, and so that's the dance of all of these other resources that are bigger than you, which was similar to darshan as well, you know. You just have to be like, I want to do this, and hope that the road somehow rises to meet you. And sometimes it takes time, and I'm happy to wait.
Well, and that's the beauty of these ongoing series, right? Is you're letting the other forces come into effect and deliver things to you that you don't have at the outset.
Yeah, forces like wind, rain.
Natural forces as well as
Natural
others.
forces, exactly, absolutely.
Yeah. One thing that I think about with your practice, which really stands out to me, is, of course, I come to this through the sort of darshan shoot.
Yeah.
And if you haven't had a chance to look at those making of videos, I really recommend spending time with them because they're fantastic and a great window into her process. But for what is a final result of a photograph, I think of you almost as a director in the historical darshan project, almost like a film director. And I see that recurring here with the Surface Tension Project also. Can you talk to me a little bit about, I'm sure it's more comfortable to be in a solo practitioner mode alone in your studio.
Yeah.
But you also have a beautiful gift for leading and inspiring creative teams. Can you talk about that and how you approach that, either from the darshan experience or the ongoing nature of Surface Tension?
I mean, I think I'm like so led by, I'm led by human beings. I enjoy them. I love learning something that I didn't see coming, and it kind of connects back to the shower. I mean, I don't think I went into the shower and took a shower in my own shower and said, I'm going to have 60 people shower in here so I feel like that was also, I said, I'll start with the first thing. I do like to pull on that thread and see where it takes me. So I think a part of that is, the fun of working with, I do consider myself a collaborative artist, whether or not there's other people involved. I do feel like there's always a collaboration happening, even if it's like you and the pen and the paper, there's always a collaboration happening. And so from that perspective, to then find other creative people who can join forces with you and lend something to your project, like Sky did last night. When Sky said, okay, I will swim with my own projection, she opened up different portals and different visuals in my mind, which are going to lead to the next thing that I'm hopefully going to make that I don't know yet, But every time somebody dances back with you, it changes your steps. And, I'm very appreciative of that. And I have a lot of gratitude for anybody who's ever joined or been interested in things. But, that's the thing, is it's supernatural and it's very organic, and it can't be forced, because it has to be a final result that everybody is motivated to see.
Right.
And there's definitely an adventure to it. I think that's why I also love working with other creatives, is because they're like, okay, so we're going to be building this thing that we haven't seen yet. We're going to jump off a building and we're going to make our wings on the way down. Let's do it,
Right.
And that part is exciting to me, because usually you're doing that by yourself. And most people are like, okay, I don't know what it is that you're talking about that you see in your mind. But that's the thrill of being in this career, this field, is that you can meet people who are, there's some, if you like who you're working with, there is a blind trust in there.
Right.
So, and I've had a few opportunities of doing that, and it's been wonderful. I'm sure it can go wrong too. It has gone wrong sometimes, and I'm like, okay, this is another person too. The project that was commissioned by the Met was like that. That's how I met Irina.
That's the project Talking Pictures. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really wonderful opportunity. Again, something that came from a curator who assigned 16 artists to be in a group show and asked each one of them to pick a partner to go into a wordless dialogue with. And it was called Talking Pictures. You only used your camera phone for it. It was called Camera Phone Conversations Between Artists. And it was at a time when, I mean, it's not that long ago. It's 6 years ago now, 5 years ago.
But it feels forever ago.
It feels forever ago, but it was 2019, and it was still highly contested, as it actually still is, can an iPhone photograph be in a museum? It was still a very interesting conversation. But for that curator, that was the very thing she was interested in, is what transpires wordlessly between people when you give a picture and take a picture. And no more do we get on the summit of a mountain and say, I have reached summit. You just share what you see. So that exchange has really changed the way we communicate. And so she had all of these artists, multidisciplinary artists, and that was very interesting too, how photographers use the phone versus how painters do, and that dialogue was fascinating. So I met another artist whose work I really admired through it. And I said, hey, this is a commission. We're supposed to go into a 6-month dialogue. And she said, okay, well, I thought I should let you know that I'm 3 months pregnant and I'll have a baby due when the commission is due. And I said, well, I'm 3 months pregnant and I'll also have a baby due when the commission is due. So we had like the exact same situation. It was again, I feel like and I was like, well, it sounds like we're going to start with a project and end with a baby. So we made the project about our growing bellies, how we responded to the world. I mean, it was extremely personal. And that is the nature of the photograph that you send to someone on text message, as I sent Sanjay this morning. It was a selfie just meant for him and me because I look awful and I will not share it anywhere else, but it's a moment between us. And so that's the nature of that exchange. And the part of it that was interesting was when we sent something, there weren't any clues. So that part of it was adventurous for us. When she sent me something and I responded back with another picture, I didn't know what she was thinking. I just saw what I saw and then I sent something back. And at the end of the project, I was like, did you know what I was doing here? And she was like, well, yeah, the light, this. And I was like, no, I was showing you that I'm drinking water. You told me I'm dehydrated the last time. So there were all of these, and that I think that resulted in a very interesting dialogue. So another collaborative piece that I'm so glad. And I wonder how that commission was solo. I may have done something completely led by how I see. Or as soon as you invite someone else who sees things differently, that changes your perspective, or it invites you to explore a different portal. So, and I'm always thankful for that.
Yeah. So looking at surface tension, we had kind of a laugh about, are they portraits or are they landscapes?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you see them on that continuum?
Yeah. I think that I think we talked about this on the phone. I feel like they're landscapes of portraits because it is the person, but it's really the world within the person. So in many of them, I feel like their body is turning into different creatures, or less so in the videos. I feel like I'm just starting to enter a place. Actually, this is a good point of the video where I'm starting to take these bodies and place them, layer them over each other, like see them come together, and the fusion of that leads to different shapes. But in each of them, I feel like it's less about their face anymore. The shower series was so much about
the face.
It was, and that's actually a really these labels, landscape, portrait. It's very interesting. It's like, is it a landscape? It is a portrait, but everything is a self-portrait. But it's also like a landscape because the content is,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I see that. Of course, there are portraits. There's people involved, and it's the landscape of that particular portrait because it turns into. I see other things. I see things beyond the person. So.
For this series, with the pool as the sort of conceptual support for it.
Yeah.
A pool can be a womb-like space, a very comforting sort of float where you're free from things like gravity. But it can also be a site of danger if you don't know how to swim. If you're swimming in open water, you don't know what other critters are in there with you. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the tension that you're investigating by siting these in a pool?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a container. I like that. I like being like, because even within a given container, within a given container. Like there are so many places you can go, you know.
Yeah.
So I like having assigning myself some structure. Although it's nice to break from that structure. And I think that is where that's what I think the collaboration helps me do, is that it helps me break from my own structure, my own confines that I put myself in. Yeah, I mean, open water is scary. You know, water is scary. Honestly, water is beautiful. Water is, you know, all the dream sequence words you can put, you know, the color, the feel, but it's also a force that's greater than you. Right. So to learn to navigate it is a life skill, and it is womb-like. We talked about that. Bridget is a lap swimmer, and you know, there is a sense of comfort, but the comfort is also right at the edge of, if it can shift so easily if you slip and you don't know what you're doing in it. I'm not fully comfortable in water, you know. I'm still learning to be a better swimmer, and so I think I definitely investigate spaces that I don't fully understand. So watching somebody just turn into a fish is also a delight for me. And you know, maybe I'm like, maybe this is all about just me learning to swim. You know, maybe this is all about just me taking notes over and over again and just seeing how, you know, how people find their own alignment between their motions and their breath and how they pace themselves and how they emerge and go back. And I love that it's immersive. I think that I guess it all comes down to personality, but what I love about water is that it can put me inside a space. And so to watch other people go into that space is just it's that circularity that I enjoy.
Right.
But it is dangerous, you know. It is, and you're right. There's other critters in there. There was a plastic cup in the pool yesterday.
Was there?
It's the secret. Nobody.
That'll be.
We tried to take it out, and we were like, well, hopefully people will not notice. But now you know.
Inside track.
Yeah.
We also talked a little bit about pools. We were talking about how you approach representation in your work.
Yeah.
Pools is a contested space.
Yes.
And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, if that played at all in this approach to the series.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's definitely a place of access. It's a place of luxury. You know, not everybody has a pool. And that's why we share pools. That's why that's why we go to public. A lot of pools. I had a not very nice swimming teacher, and my mom was like, you don't need to do this, forget it, you know. But my grandmother, I was telling Bridget about this, my grandmother was very anti-British. You know, she was very aware of the British Raj, and she wrote poems about the revolution, and you know, she had all these cutouts and
like clippings,
newspaper clippings, and one of them she had, it was like this like luxury space, and outside of it said dogs and Indians not allowed. And it was a resort that had a pool, you know. And I just remember like looking at that, and you know, of course this is, you know, I'm probably 10 or 12, and you know, it was so vile and so hurtful, but also I was like, how does somebody come to your country and decides where you go in or where you don't, you know? And so access and erasure, those are words where, you know, everybody, however everyone defines it, but I love taking this space, which is, you know, obviously in my country it became a colonial space, and then I like making all kinds of shapes and sizes and colors of bodies really large and spreading them across it, because it's beautiful to see that. It's beautiful to own that space by choice and by interest. And so, you know, that conversation continues really through all of the work, because as you travel the world and you go to different places, and, you know, that's a part of my, you also find parallels you don't like, you know.
Right.
parallels of things between India and America, and places that, lands that were stolen, and histories that were stolen, stories that are stolen. So artwork becomes a way to reclaim some of that.
Mm-hmm. I think that is a good spot for us to pause and just see if there are questions that we can take from the audience. And I don't know how you're fielding things, but if there are questions from the online audience, we're happy for those also. Yes, please.
I have a question. Many questions. Work.
Thank you.
What drove what was the collaboration of the movement choices in the water?
The collaboration of the movement choices?
Yes.
When I'm making the stills, I really just want to see them go however they want to. But when I'm doing the videos, I found myself, I was like, I can't believe I have like a consistent way I'm saying this, but I have been saying low and slow a lot. I'm like, I don't want to say that again, but it's the fastest and the easiest way to let somebody know that I want them to stay under, and I want them to move slowly. And a part of that is because I'm trying to slow down. I'm trying to do the opposite with my videos as I am in my stills, because in my stills I'm trying to freeze something, in my videos I'm trying to really meditate on the speed of the movement. So
it looks like there's a lot of movement that's captured.
Yeah.
Stills.
Yeah.
The hair. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a part of that is that is happening, you know, like in many photography long-term projects, that the editing of the work reveals secrets that you didn't even know, you know, because you're capturing something in movement, but its transformation and its metamorphosis of that body as it's moving is to be revealed when you go back and revisit some of that work. So I love that in the editing process, if I find something I didn't see when I was making the work. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting to me. So some of these choices, or like some of the works that I end up curating into my finals, are ones that have an element of surprise for me too.
Anybody else have any other questions? She'll be here, of course, if you want to ask private questions later. But if you have questions that will edify the rest of us, so we welcome those too.
Another question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Is the production, post-exposure production, all your work? Or mm-hmm. You talked about collaboration before.
Yeah. Yeah. I have done some of the post-production, but then I do have now someone I work with in my studio that I work with to direct the post-production. So that has happened as the video content grows and as I start to want to push that space. So that is happening. Yeah.
And this is an open series for you, right? You consider this work ongoing?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like the stills are a dangerous place. There is no end.
A never-ending resource.
Stills are dangerous. But I do want to push the performance aspect of the installation. Mm-hmm. That's something that I'm looking to take to further spaces. And, you know, it will take finding other sites that want to welcome the installation. It's going to take more collaborators. So there's an unknown to it, but I would like to push that further.
And can you list for us how many iterations of that there's been? There was last night here in Houston.
Yeah.
Bishop's Lodge in Santa Fe.
Yeah. I would say, and then the residency where it was born, and that's it. So that's really, so I would say really in the last two sites is where I've pushed it to new scale, to new performance, you know. So the next time it happens would be a third, and, you know, third time's a charm, so. Yes.
Sounds like crystal. Lakes, seas, ocean, what is next?
Oh, I'm not sure what's next, but I am very excited about a show that I'm working towards in Birmingham, Alabama. It's at the Ava Institute, and it's next fall. And we have a name for the show, and it's called Tattvam Asi. which is a Sanskrit term, and it means thou art that, or can also be expanded to the universe is a mirror. So I'm in the process of making work on that, and there's parts I know and there's parts I don't know. So Sanjay, you and I are both in it together.
Well, I don't think on this trip you're going to have time to get to our body of water, which is the Gulf of Mexico.
I would love that.
But
I'll come back for it.
Yeah, you'll have to come back for it because we were talking the other day about despite the brief stint in Ohio, you're a water baby, Mumbai, New York, California.
Yeah.
Although maybe you're not going to the beach every weekend in LA, but still it's there for you as a resource.
I'm in Pasadena. The beach is a minute away, but I did live in Santa Barbara for a little while, and that was it was a challenging community for me to stay in. So I did move to Pasadena, and I'm loving it there. But I did love the ease with which I dropped into the beach. So I do miss that. Sky and I have talked about it. Sky's got some family there, and yeah, I do love being close to water, and that's something I've only recently realized. Oh, I have lived close to water bodies my whole life.
Yeah.
But I love the mountains too.
Well, now you have the best of both because you're in Los Angeles. If there aren't any other questions, I just want to thank Manjari for being here with us, for coming to Houston, for sharing this work.
Yeah.
It's always such an absolute pleasure to have you. And congratulations to you and the Assembly team on a wonderful exhibition.
Thank you, Bridget. I just want to add that I've known Bridget now. I've known Houston because of Bridget. Let me just put it this way.
Yeah.
Bridget brought me to Houston. Bridget and Juan brought me to Houston.
Exactly.
Actually, Juan might be the first person I knew from Houston. So
I think so.
And then it turned out that you two knew each other. But, Asia Society Houston, Asia Society Texas Center was the first place that I had my body of work called Darshan, which actually has the portfolio can be seen in the back if you're interested. And it was the first time that I saw that work on scale.
Right.
I had wanted to make it a certain way and see it a certain way, but it wasn't until I was brought to this space that I could really see that vision come to life. So I guess it makes sense that Texas would bring big things to life because
Yeah, that exhibition was called Transcendent Deities, and it was in 2014. And we showed it here in Houston, and then it traveled to Atlanta and was seen at the Carlos Museum.
and then went to Birmingham, Alabama,
Exactly.
and then is coming to Phoenix Museum of Art in December.
Yeah.
But it has been amazing to get to know Bridget through these projects and over the years, and it is actually such a pleasure to talk to somebody who really knows your practice as it's evolved. And to that point, I love working with Assembly because they actually care about an artist's entire practice. Now, they're not just with you for one series. They're interested in knowing all the threads that connect your work. And so thank you to Assembly and thank you to Bridget. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.
Okay.